Yeah, it's tax season and Gen Z, like usual, is not okay. They're feeling traumatized by the stress of having to file taxes and pay out to the government. They're not making that much money anyway, so I definitely understand their financial woes. Over half of Gen Zers report that the stress of filing taxes has brought them to tears, according to a new survey.
Rough,
and they
man.
even claim 1 in 4 Gen Zers claim they need help from a therapist to recover from that traumatic experience.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, there is like this weird fetish for therapy now.
Well, especially amongst Gen Z.
Yeah. And celebrities.
But
celebrities love therapy.
if you look at the data, I think that actually Gen X and Boomers are more likely to be enrolled in therapy than the average Gen Zer.
Interesting.
You know what I think about though is like
But they don't
science
talk about it
changes
as much.
all the
Yes.
time. Science changes once every like 100 years. So whatever the
Or
therapy we
faster.
think works
Yeah.
right now is going to be disproven very soon.
Yeah, I mean, the discipline of psychology is not actually that old and
Right.
has not been tested for long enough for us to know what it really does to
Look,
people.
I don't push back against it. Like, I did dialectic behavioral therapy and I did cognitive behavioral therapy, but those had end dates in mind.
That's
and
built into the whole process.
Yes, and that was part of my addiction
Yeah.
recovery program. So it had a stated goal, and it was tied to a specific event and period in my life.
Right.
And I got a decent amount out of that. Honestly, most of what I felt like I got out of that was just the feel. It was like a placebo effect. Like, I'm going to do something about this every week. So it bolsters how you feel about yourself, that you're actively working to do something about it until you feel good enough that you can get past it and you don't need it anymore.
Also, that makes sense because you're a man and you're like solution oriented, but these other forms like just basic talk therapy or psychoanalysis don't have an end date built into them, which also makes them more lucrative for the psychotherapists.
Yeah.
They have more clients that are just glued onto them indefinitely. There's no end goal. So the New York Post did an article about this, and they added this graphic that says, "Help, having a mentee be." Never before had I heard the term mentee be.
We were laughing about it
to
yesterday.
stand for mental breakdown. So Gen Z is just having mental breakdowns casually as they do their taxes.
They're also saying that they're obsessed with being rich.
Yeah, a new survey suggests that Gen Z and millennials can be diagnosed with something called money dysmorphia. They're obsessed with the idea of being rich and also have a misperception of their own finances.
How does that work?
So roughly 45% of Gen Z and millennials, thank you guys.
Let's get more!
45% of Gen Z and millennials are obsessed with the idea of being rich. 43% of Gen Z and 41% of millennials experience money dysmorphia. Another 48% of Gen Z say they feel behind financially, along with 59% of millennials. To explain money dysmorphia to you, money dysmorphia refers to a state in which someone's self-perception regarding their finances doesn't match reality. It can lead to poor decision-making and anxiety, especially for wealthy Americans who have anxiety over not making enough money. So 43% and 41% of millennials suffer from money dysmorphia. It can cause people to become obsessed with obtaining money, despite the fact that they're not necessarily broke. Symptoms include browsing all day on luxury sites and attending country club wealth seminars. Like, a lot of Gen Z makes TikToks about going on Zillow and looking at houses
Yeah.
that they can't afford.
But the idea of like working a lot is not new. Like plenty of rich people will talk about how like, look, once you take it, like, what was the quote? Take it from someone who's got enough, it ain't never enough. Like, you know, once you get in the custom to making money, first of all, once your tax bracket changes, your liabilities change and all this stuff, and it becomes a process in which you have to continue to do it. You don't just, I think a lot of people have that mythical idea that you get a certain amount of money and then life just stops and you're happy.
Mo money,
you're
mo
good.
problems.
Yes, P. Diddy, Mason, Biggie talked about this in '97. Mo money, mo problems.
This has been a thing. And also a lot of self-made wealthy people, they probably got there because they're more conscientious about spending than everybody else. and their self-perceived wealth is not what other people perceive. Like, I don't know. I've met rich people, especially in the South, who you would never know because they live in modest homes with old cars.
Yeah.
They don't wear flashy jewelry or whatever. They don't own designer.
I guess back in the day, the old version of Zillow shopping, like Zillow shopping online, would be the guy who goes to the car dealership to test drive a car he can't afford.
Well, Gen Z has found somewhat of a solution to this. They're buying homes on Amazon for $30,000 a pop. You can buy an Amazon home that folds out.
That's so sad.
It comes to you flat, and you fold it out, and you can hook it up to water. I don't know how you could get like heating, air conditioning.
You have to have land.
You have to have land.
You have to have land to put it
What about
somewhere.
like sewage?
Yeah. I think
Dignity.
that it does come with a bathroom inside, so you can hook it up to plumbing somehow. I don't understand how it works. But yeah, money savvy young adults are turning to online retail giant for prefab apartments.
I do like the idea. Like, one of the reasons why a lot of people hate the the van life people, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the reasons they hate them are a couple. It's like, one, they always assume that they're trust fund kids.
A lot of them are, to be honest.
Like, yes, some of them are, but I think a lot of them also, we live in a world where you can work remotely now. So, like, a lot of them are talking about, like, they will go through their expenses and they end up spending, like, a lot of times the same amount of money that they would end up spending living at a normal apartment. But I like the idea of being solution oriented and doing something that makes the most of your circumstances rather than living in the apartment and then complaining about how expensive rent is and how much you hate your landlord.
But it's still not ideal to be rootless and constantly, living a nomad lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not for
got a
everyone.
$20 from Philip Reed. Before the show's over, I want to share a part of my childhood that I recently found again. The game Omega Boost from '99. Look up the intro. To this day, it's the most awesome thing to me. I haven't heard of that, have you?
Nope.
You're the one who's into like retro gaming, stuff like that.
Let's keep going. Well, maybe we'll come back to, it's pretty long. It's like 5 minutes long.
Oh, okay. Well, we might get copyright anyway if we did show it. But yeah, I understand why millennials especially would feel behind financially. They're probably saddled with more student loan debt than Gen Z.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Did you see that video of that girl recently who was talking about how she, needs to work 40 hours a week just to pay her rent and barely anything else? She feels like she's stuck.
And then she comes home and has no time to cook dinner and she's exhausted. Yeah.
And Matt Walsh talked about it because he's like, I work more than that. I said, look, the hours a week work schedule argument is never a fruitful one because everyone will argue that their circumstances are worse. Everyone. So you could work 60 hours a week in an office. Sure, you're working 60 hours, but the dude working 40 to 60 hours a week, blue collar, who's building homes, who's working construction, isn't going to have much sympathy for you.
Well,
right?
men find more fulfillment from work.
Yes.
This is just a fact of life. It's something a lot of feminists can't accept.
Get very when
this girl. I see this video of this girl. I feel bad for her. I don't want to laugh at her. I don't want to mock her, and I don't want to tell her to pull herself up by her bootstraps because that's not an actual solution. That's just making fun of someone. And a lot of young people feel like directionless right now, but especially young women who have been lied to that having families or getting married is not something to aspire to. And now she's living in this reality and doesn't feel like she has a way out.
And being gaslit.
Yeah.
By everyone and everything around her.
This should be easy to you. Something is wrong with you if you feel unfulfilled by this lifestyle. No, there's something wrong with the whole system of it. And for that girl, it's like the girl boss feminist thing about aspiring toward a career and leaning into only having a career. That would be fine it might be, good enough to live in the delusion if you got to do the Sex and the City thing and actually, be independent. But this girl can't even make ends meet. It's not working.
I'm
Like,
gonna point to
it might be fine if she were comfortable and she had disposable income and actually was like doing the girl boss thing, but it's not like it is on the TV shows.
I want
Great
to
point.
point to what Wodenshot says. He says, laughing and mockery work wonders on people. You should try it. I actually disagree here. This is where I do think that the ladies from Mostly Peaceful Latinas are right about something, which is that using that tone, it's like talking about facts and logic. They don't work on women. It's not politically expedient to use those arguments against women. You have to, at least in some fashion, appeal to emotion.
Alex
You do.
Clark also
Yes,
hammered this point home.
It doesn't work. It's just never going to work. And trying to mock and humiliate the woman for feeling this way isn't going to be something that actually works if you're trying to show her a different way. And the problem is that all of the viewpoints from this side, they don't really align with the whole, I understand how you feel, but this is the way things are. Most people on this side are going to tell you to toughen up, deal with it. I mean, that is my initial reaction to most stories like that, is that if I was to go and complain tomorrow, no one would give a crap. That's the way of the world. What is the point of complaining about it? I don't get it. So, but I understand that using that as an argument for somebody, though it might make you or me feel better to say that to them, it's not going to actually bring them into any type of alignment with how you feel they could change their way of living.
Also, just replying to someone who's, her profile, like a young girl who is complaining about these things, and just saying, get married, that's also not a solution. Because you're just saying, go find a man who can be your wallet.
Yeah.
No man wants to be that. And she aspires probably to marrying someone she actually likes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just see a lot of empty discourse and people not really offering solutions.
Yeah.
And just memeing on someone who has real concerns about the future of our economy. Maybe some of them are making, wrong conclusions.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to have a family because AI and the singularity is coming, or like climate catastrophe is underway, instant heat death, or,
Aliens.
aliens are going to invade or whatever. They're coming to the wrong conclusions, but they're pointing out the wrong problems, or the right problems. I'm sorry. So like credit for that where it's due, at least.
Yeah, what is the solution? Is there really one yet?
No.
Because there's no like middle ground right now, because we've gone to such an extreme where
There's-
she either has to work the 40 hours or try to find someone who can split the rent with her, but then that's also not gonna cut it for very long.
I never understood that, because I thought that was the norm. Everybody I've ever known, when they get out of high school and they go into college and they go after that, they have a roommate. You have a roommate and you split the rent, but it's still expensive. And food is extremely expensive. Gas is expensive, though I guess coming down a little bit. And it's kind of like, I do get annoyed when people start bringing up like people are never going to own houses. I just roll my eyes, because I'm like, well, until we actually come up with solutions, what is the point of constantly like, yes, I get it. Making fun of the boomers is great. And you can place most of the blame at the feet of the fiscal policies and the decisions made by the generations prior. But filling the internet with it's not going to actually solve the problem. But again, who am I to tell them not to? Because I don't know what the problem with what the solution is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just know that it's demoralizing more than anything. Just a bunch of videos of people complaining about it, a bunch of years of people airing their grievances for problems that are very real, is demoralizing to the culture, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah, I think there is no one blanket solution for everyone. There's a different solution for every single individual human being. Some women love living that life. Some women love like the grind of working 40 hours a week and living in the city, even if they don't have the Sex in the City lifestyle. That's what they prefer. Other people, I mean, me personally, I hate big cities. Like the girl in the video, maybe she was sold a lie and she would be much happier just being a housewife.
Hiroshi Utaru is right. He says the weird thing is being able to afford your own place right out of high school. Yes, that is weird. Most people cannot.
It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if there's my solution to this is to focus. I made a post about it the other day. I said, even when life sucks, focusing on the gratitude that you have for the things that do work in your life, for the things that you do have, being grateful for that, even when everything else sucks, is almost like a life hack to deal with the fact that there are going to be things that are going to be bad. That
Grateful
life isn't always going to
to whom for giving it to you.
be. To still,
If you don't have God. You
What
know?
do you mean? Like, it's not about it being given to me. Being healthy, I'm grateful for being healthy. Being able to have a job that I love right now.
These things are gifts, right? They're blessings. I just don't see gratefulness ever, I don't see a shift in people becoming grateful until people become religious.
I mean, if I can do it, then they can. But I get that's a perspective.
Not
It might
true.
be more
Most people
difficult.
can't.
Yeah, and I could be completely wrong, but when you do like a program, don't they have you believe in some kind of a higher power?
I went through a program that's called Health Realization, which is not religious based.
Okay.
But the 12 steps, yes, that's true.
Yeah,
But the thing is, like, look, there's a couple of statements you heard a lot growing up. Life isn't fair. I honestly believe
I never heard that.
As simple as that is, or the idea of your parents saying, "Suck it up, it could always be worse."
Never heard that either.
I understand that those aren't necessarily kind things to hear, but being able to tell yourself that maybe it's not fair, but it certainly makes dealing with the unfairness a lot easier.
Well, you were also raised by like a vet, but like so I think that you were raised by someone who has a lot more discipline than we see in this day and age, and like people who are my and your age and like millennials. So I think that you kind of have more of that like nitty gritty, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps upbringing that we just don't see anymore, coupled with just this blanket of cynicism that's gone across society, and which you could draw also the correlation with the lack of belief in a higher power.
Yeah, I think whatever movement comes along to really offer solutions to young people in this day and age, it's not going to sell them a message of, I will take away all of your suffering. It should be that suffering is an inevitable fact of life, and we want to give meaning to your suffering that you're going to go through.
That's a great point.
People are suffering and they feel like it doesn't mean anything and
Yeah.
that they can't get anything out of it.
The cynicism, I think, is a big part
The
of it.
sacrifices they're making will never have fruitful outcomes in their life.
I tend to find the cynicism of the culture very, very abhorrent. Like, I just don't like it. I've never enjoyed the idea that you can take everything that you've been blessed with, to be born here in the West, to be born in one of the most, I don't know if stable is the word, to be born in a country where you're better off than being poor here in America. You are better off than 95% of the rest of the world, right? The problem is there's a lack of context, unless you've actually seen those other places, or you remind yourself on a regular basis, like, hey, as bad as I've got it, look at how good I've got it.
Yes.
Like, it's very unrealistic to expect people to be able to make that comparison every day if it hasn't been shown to them.
If you're not going to Iran to visit your family once every few
yes,
years.
exactly. So,
But look, the people don't want comfort. It's nice to have air conditioning and everything, but that's not really what people want at their core. They want adversity to have meaning in life, and we don't have that here in the West. That's why we resort to, attaching labels to ourselves to feel like we're facing some kind of adversity, because
People
we're not
seek
in
it.
any life or death situations here.
Yeah, they end up seeking it in really messed up ways.
Yeah. But as for the talk about paying taxes, I think these Gen Zers would make great plaques in Brett's Tax Heroes Hall of Fame wall. They should send in their headshots.
you too can be on my tax hero wall as you
Yes.
bravely stand up against the evil organization that is the Internal Revenue Service.
Alongside Wesley Snipes, Lindsay Lohan, and others.
Yes.
To name a few.
Yes, just to name a few.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.